Y'all had a good time so far? Sounds like 5 people are having a good time. Are we having a good time?
Yeah.
That's better. Well, folks, I want to see a show of hands. How many of you ever seen a turntable before? Not at a disco party. Fair enough. Well, after today, every single one of you will go home and you can say you have seen a turntable and a turntable in operation. Our table here that we're going to use was built new in 1916 by the American Bridge and Iron Company of Amherst, Pennsylvania for the Central Georgia Railroad. It's 80 feet long and it weighs 80 tons. Who here knows how heavy 80 tons is? I don't see anybody guessing. I'll tell you right now. Did you want to try guessing? I saw your hand up. 80 tons is 160,000 pounds. And in case you didn't know, 160,000 pounds is heavy. It will surprise you to learn now that you know that 160,000 pounds is heavy. This table was entirely moved by manpower. This was called a strong arm table. On either end of the table would have been a pair of poles. They would have needed 4 men to spin this table with a locomotive on top of it by themselves, with no external power whatsoever. It was first located down in Macon, Georgia, and moved to Cedartown in the 1920s. Cedartown were their smaller terminuses. That meant they had smaller engines to turn, didn't weigh as much. Now, turntables are important to the operation of steam locomotives because a steam engine is built facing forward. They could definitely go backwards if you wanted to. However, due to the large tender behind it, which hauls the fuel and water for the locomotive, visibility is pretty much nothing. They were also very expensive to maintain. They often needed a crew of at least 2 or 3 to operate in one shift. That was until the introduction of the diesel electric locomotive, which is what 1829 is, which pulled your train. Diesel locomotives were much cheaper to maintain. They also only needed 1 person to operate. So in the 1940s, 1950s, when they were retiring the costly steam locomotives and bringing in the cheaper diesel locomotives, they began to retire the turntables. Now, the good thing about diesel electric locomotives is that they are just as capable going forward and reverse. That is thanks to the greater visibility that they added to those locomotives. Again, as they began to retire the steam locomotives, so were the turntables. This one was retired, they put it in storage. They were eventually going to scrap it. That was until we acquired this turntable in the 1980s, had it fully restored and began using it on July 4th, 1982. We also added a 25 horsepower electric motor, which is located underneath the cabin, and Travis is performing The Price is Right. What's the price, Travis?
How much you got?
$3.50.
Sold.
Sold? I'll tell you what, folks, there's about 50 trees up that way. I don't see the last happen. There are 50 trees that happen, whatever. I think we need to give these people some coffee, Travis. But anyway, like I said, this turntable is 80 tons. We've already established that that's heavy, right? Okay. Make sure y'all listen. 1829, when it's fully loaded with diesel fuel, comes in at about 120 tons. So when we plop it on this table right behind me, we're going to be spinning about 200 tons of iron and steel total. Matter of fact, he's so bored he's asleep. Let me put things into a heavier perspective for you. Does anybody like dinosaurs? Who likes dinosaurs? All right, looks like 5 people like dinosaurs. Well, Tyrannosaurus Rex, when they were romping around, they weighed on average about 8 tons. So 10 of them weighed one of our turntables. Anybody here after having travel on a school bus? How many have ever seen a school bus? All right. Well, when you see them going down the interstate or road or whatever, they weigh on average about 11 to 13 tons. And the space shuttle, unloaded with no fuel in it, comes in at about 75 tons. 5 tons less than our turntable by itself. Now, before we start spinning the engine, I'd like to ask everybody to make sure they stand well behind the yellow line. Don't touch the safety ropes, please. Behind the yellow line. Thank you, buddy. Behind the yellow line. Thank you. And parents, if you got small kiddos, please take them at the hand at this time. And wives and born husbands do the same. The locomotive 1829 was built new in 1951 by the Locomotive Division of General Motors as a 5-hood GP7 for the United States Army. It operated up in Kingsport, Tennessee at the Holston Army Ammunition Plant just so I'm aware that the United States Army is looking to get rid of a couple of these. So we bought 3 of them for $750 total. $750 each. Got us 3 brand new diesel locomotives total, not including shipping fee. I wanted to see you guys something on the diesel electric locomotive. That means behind the cab or engineer bike is a diesel engine. That diesel engine is turning an electric generator, which is located in the back of the engine here. The electricity that is generated is then sent down to traction motors, which are located on the trucks, and that is what propels our locomotive forward or reverse. And the reason why it's called a high hood, at the very front of the locomotive, also known as the nose, it has a high hood right here. And we're going to line our turntable up on track number 2. Now our cars are parked on track 1. I'll explain why here in just a second. Alright folks, here's what's going to happen. 1829 is going to roll off on track 2. The track's going to go down to the end of track 2. He's going to throw a switch from track 2 to 1. That'll allow the locomotive back onto track 1. It will then reverse into our train. And that means when we head back to Grand Junction, the last car on the way here will be the first car on the way back. Now, folks, at this time, if you want to, you're more than welcome to head back to the train or visit our depot. Before we go anywhere, if you want to visit the back shop, if you'll just meet me at the crossing down there, we'll all go together as a group. Once again, back shop tour, wait for me down here crossing. Thank you.